Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're decoding the psychology of human behavior. Have you ever wondered why some people can just walk into a room full of strangers and effortlessly leave a trail of engaged, smiling faces, while others, kind of struggle to connect? We're going to uncover how mastering social intelligence is literally the ultimate invisible tool for navigating modern life.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover what is social intelligence, decoding the unspoken language, the power of emotional attunement, navigating complex social dynamics, and finally, connection in the digital age. Let's get right into it. So, why do some folks navigate social situations so effortlessly? Just think about the remarkable transformation of Warren Buffett. Early in his career, one of the world's most successful investors was actually terrified of public speaking. He struggled immensely with social interactions. But he recognized this limitation and invested in his social skills by taking a Dale Carnegie course. He went from being awkward and afraid to becoming this trusted magnetic icon. His ability to build relationships became the absolute bedrock of his empire. And why does a transformation like Buffett's matter so much? Well, the data totally backs it up. According to a massive Harvard Business Review study tracking over 2,000 executives, 90% of top performers score high in social intelligence. Meanwhile, only 20% of bottom performers display similar capabilities. Think about that for a second. It turns out your social intelligence is actually twice as important as your technical skills when it comes to determining professional success.
Section 1. What is social intelligence? The foundations of connection. Let's trip away the myths and look at what this invisible code actually is.
Think of it this way. IQ helps you solve a complex math equation. EQ keeps you from throwing your laptop out the window when you get it wrong. But SQ, social intelligence, is what helps you naturally bring a frustrated team together to resolve a conflict. And it's wild. Neuroscience reveals that SQ operates through unique neural pathways. It uses these specialized brain cells called mirror neurons that fire both when we perform an action and when we observe others doing it. It's literally the biological foundation for empathy.
So the framework of SQ breaks down into 5 core components: social awareness, social facility, social cognition, behavioral flexibility, and social presence. And these aren't just theoretical buzzwords. Look at Microsoft. When Satya Nadella took over as CEO, the company was known for this combative, highly competitive culture. Nadella leveraged these exact 5 components, specifically behavioral flexibility and social awareness, to completely transform the culture into one of empathy and collaboration. The result? A staggering $500 billion increase in market value.
Moving on to Section 2, decoding the unspoken language, reading people. Let's see how this builds when we start actively interpreting the silent signals others send us every single day.
You have to consider the sheer scale of the unspoken here. A groundbreaking UCLA study revealed that a staggering 93% of message interpretation is completely nonverbal. That is huge. When there's a disconnect between someone's words and their tone, listeners instinctively believe the tone. That's exactly why a casual "it's fine" can sometimes signal deep frustration. If you're only listening to the words, you are missing almost the entire conversation.
So, how do we actually read the room like a pro? Well, you can immediately implement the 4-step SCAN method. This is exactly how former FBI agent Joe Navarro caught spies and how professional poker player Liv Boeree won millions reading microexpressions. You don't just look for a single crossed arm. First, you survey their normal baseline behavior. Then, you clarify any sudden changes. Next, you analyze a cluster of behaviors together. And finally, you navigate by smoothly adjusting your own response based on what you picked up.
All right, Section 3. The power of emotional attunement, regulating, and connecting. Because it's one thing to spot a behavior. It's a whole different ballgame to connect with the feeling behind it.
Have you ever heard of emotional contagion? Research shows that your emotional state literally acts like a virus, affecting not just your friends, but your friends' friends' friends, up to 3 degrees of separation. This dynamic perfectly explains why leaders like Nelson Mandela were so incredibly effective in post-apartheid South Africa. Mandela understood that a leader's emotional state profoundly impacts everyone around them. By mastering his own emotions, he was able to project reconciliation instead of resentment, fundamentally altering the emotional temperature of an entire nation.
To achieve that kind of deep emotional attunement yourself, you have to master active listening. Think about Oprah Winfrey. She built an absolute media empire by utilizing deep empathy and active listening. And you could practice this right now using the HEAR method: halt, engage, anticipate, and replay.
It sounds simple, right? But leaders who actually practice this are rated as 40% more effective. You aren't just waiting for your turn to speak, you're actively hunting for the meaning behind their words.
Which brings us to Section 4, Navigating Complex Social Dynamics, Power and Groups.
Notice how dramatically status has shifted in recent years? We are rapidly moving away from traditional authority, where job titles dictated power, toward modern dynamics based on perceived value and psychological safety. Look at Ed Catmull's brain trust at Pixar. He deliberately neutralized hierarchy in meetings so that a junior artist felt perfectly safe challenging a senior director's ideas. This kind of modern, collaborative power dynamic can actually increase innovation by up to 40%.
To really thrive in this modern dynamic, you need social capital. Think of it as the currency of relationships. You can leverage these 5 principles: authenticity, reciprocity, consistency, value creation, and network diversity to build lasting social capital. This perfectly echoes how Abraham Lincoln masterfully aligned diverse, often conflicting interests to build his famous team of rivals cabinet. He didn't just rely on positional power. He used authenticity, reciprocity, and value creation to turn his adversaries into staunch allies. And that leads us to our final stop, Section 5, Connection in the Digital Age, Networking and the Future. Let's apply this invisible code to our modern, highly interconnected world. In the digital age, networking is definitely not just about collecting LinkedIn connections like trading cards. It's about cultivating genuine relationships. Organizational psychologist Adam Grant found that the absolute best networkers are actually givers. You can put this into practice using the highly actionable 3-3-3 method. Take 3 minutes to reflect before a call on how you can add value to the other person, hit 3 meaningful touch points during the chat, and follow up within 3 days. It totally transforms a casual digital ping into a meaningful, lasting professional relationship. And here's the thing. Digital empathy becomes absolutely vital when 93% of our normal communication toolkit, body language and tone, is stripped away. A lighthearted comment in an email can so easily read as dismissive or rude. Just taking a second to pause, consider the context, read between the lines, and respond with kindness, that alone prevents the defensive spirals and misunderstandings that happen so easily behind a screen.
As we wrap up this explainer, this timeless wisdom from Maya Angelou perfectly captures everything we've talked about today. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Advanced social intelligence isn't about manipulation or climbing a corporate ladder. It is fundamentally about leaving a positive, lasting impact on others. It's all about how you make people feel when you walk out of that room.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought as you step out into the world to apply this toolkit. Recognize that every single interaction, whether it's a tense boardroom negotiation, a casual coffee chat, or even just a quick email to a colleague, is an incredible opportunity. It's a chance to practice the art of human connection, to expand the pie, and to truly master the invisible code of social intelligence. How are you going to use it today?